Imagine you've already worked for several hours today without getting paid and without even realizing it. You didn't clock in, you didn't sign a contract, and nobody told you that your shift started. You simply woke up, reached for your phone, and slipped into your usual online routine. You checked your messages, scrolled your feed, watched a couple of short videos, liked a post here, skipped another there, sent a meme to a friend, clicked on a catchy headline, and stayed on that video way longer than you planned. From your point of view, you were just waking up, killing a bit of time, and catching up with the world. But from the system's point of view, every second of that time was turned into data. What you watched, what you ignored, what made you stop, what made you angry, what made you laugh, what kept you hooked, and that data is already making someone a lot of money. Today I want to talk about who actually controls our attention in the digital age, why we keep giving away hours of our lives to screens, and how we ended up in a world where algorithms know us better than many of the people we live with. We are going to dig into how this new kind of digital servitude works, why the most valuable companies in the world no longer just sell products to us but sell us to other people, and what you can do so that you use these systems consciously, instead of letting them quietly use you. We are not going to demonize technology. The problem is not the phone in your hand. The problem is the incentives behind the platforms that compete for space on that phone every waking hour. By the end of this video, my goal is not to scare you away from the internet. My goal is to give you a clearer picture of the game you are already playing every single day. Because once you see the rules, you can start making real choices again, instead of being pulled around on autopilot. And since we are literally talking about attention and algorithms, this is the perfect moment to address the obvious thing. If this topic feels relevant to you, and you want more deep dive breakdowns like this, I would really appreciate your support. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a like on this video if it helps you look at your own online habits a little differently. And tell me in the comments how you personally feel about social media right now. Do you feel like you are using it, or do you feel like it is using you? Your comment is important, not only for the algorithm but for other people who will scroll down and recognize themselves in your words. At the same time, all those likes, comments, and subscriptions send YouTube a simple signal. This is useful. Show this to more people who might need to hear it. Thank you for taking a second to do that. Now, let's unpack how we all turned into the raw material of the digital world. So how did we get here? It starts with a simple, almost deceptive idea. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. We've all heard this 1,000 times, but what does it really mean? It means your attention is the currency. For platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and even right here on YouTube, their primary customers aren't us, the users. Their primary customers are advertisers, and what they're selling to those advertisers is access to our eyeballs and our minds. Every time you scroll, you're not just seeing content, you're participating in a real-time auction for your own attention. Think about it. An advertiser wants to sell, say, a new brand of running shoes. They don't want to show their ads to just anyone. They want to show them to people who are interested in fitness, people who have recently searched for running gear, people who follow marathon runners on Instagram. How do platforms know this about you? Because you told them. Not with your words, but with your clicks, your likes, your shares, your watch time. Every interaction is a breadcrumb. You pause for half a second longer on a video of someone hiking. The algorithm notes potential interest in outdoor activities. You like a picture of a friend's new puppy. The algorithm notes potential pet owner. This data is collected, bundled, and used to create a highly detailed profile of you, your interests, your fears, your desires, your political leanings. Even when you're likely to be feeling bored or a little down, this profile is then sold to advertisers who can target you with frightening precision. This isn't just about selling you shoes. It's about influencing your decisions, your mood, and even your beliefs. And the system is designed to keep you engaged for as long as possible, because the more time you spend on the platform, the more data you generate, and the more ads you can be shown. The entire architecture of the apps on your phone is built around one goal: capturing and holding your attention. This is where the slot machine effect comes in. Have you ever pulled down to refresh your feed? That little moment of anticipation, waiting to see what new content appears? That's not an accident. It's a design feature borrowed directly from casino slot machines. It's called a variable reward schedule. Sometimes you refresh and see something amazing, a hilarious video, a message from a friend. Other times, it's just boring. It's this unpredictability that makes it so addictive. You keep pulling the lever, hoping for a jackpot. The infinite scroll is another one. There's no natural stopping point. The content just keeps coming, and coming, and coming. Before you know it, 20 minutes have vanished. This isn't a failure of your willpower. It's the success of a design that is intentionally built to bypass your conscious control. It's a system engineered to exploit our brain's natural craving for novelty and social connection. Notifications are another key weapon in this war for your attention. That little red dot, that buzz in your pocket, it's a digital tap on the shoulder. Hey, come back. You might be missing something important. This taps directly into our fear of missing out, or FOMO, even if the notification is for something trivial. It pulls your focus away from whatever you are doing in the real world and brings you back into their digital one. So the platforms are designed to be addictive, and they use your data to sell your attention to the highest bidder. But the problem goes even deeper. The algorithms that decide what you see are not optimized for truth or for your well-being. They're optimized for engagement. And what gets the most engagement? Often it's content that triggers strong emotions, especially outrage. Think about it. A calm, nuanced discussion about a complex topic might get a few thoughtful comments. But a post that makes you angry, you're much more likely to react. You'll comment, you'll share it with friends saying, "Can you believe this?" You might even argue with strangers in the comments for an hour. All of that is engagement. The algorithm sees this and thinks, "Wow, this content is really popular. Let's show it to more people." This is how misinformation and polarizing content can spread like wildfire. The algorithm doesn't care if it's true or false, helpful or harmful. It only cares if it keeps you on the platform. Over time, this can create echo chambers, where you're only shown content that confirms your existing beliefs, and filter bubbles, where you're shielded from opposing viewpoints. The world starts to look exactly like the version the algorithm has curated for you, making it harder to understand people who see things differently. We end up more divided, more tribal, and more certain that our side is right and the other side is crazy. Now, I know this all sounds pretty bleak. It can feel like we're just puppets on a string, manipulated by forces we can't control, but it doesn't have to be that way. The first and most powerful step is simply awareness. Understanding the game is how you start to win it. You're already taking that step just by watching this video. So, what can we actually do? Let's talk about practical strategies to reclaim your attention. First, curate your digital environment like you would your physical one. Think of your phone's home screen as your living room. Do you want it cluttered with things that constantly demand your attention? Or do you want it to be a calm, intentional space? Start by turning off all non-essential notifications. Do you really need to know instantly when someone likes your photo from 3 days ago? Probably not. Go into your settings and be ruthless. Only allow notifications from real people for time-sensitive communication, like calls or text messages. Everything else can wait until you decide to check in. Next, make social media a destination, not a default. Instead of having the apps on your home screen where you can open them mindlessly, bury them in a folder. Or even better, delete the apps from your phone and only access them through your web browser. The browser experience is often clunkier and less addictive by design. It adds a little bit of friction, giving you a moment to ask yourself, do I really want to be doing this right now? Another powerful technique is to set time limits. Both iPhone and Android have built-in features that let you set daily limits for specific apps. Set a realistic goal, maybe 30 minutes a day for Instagram or TikTok. When your time is up, the app will lock. This forces you to be more intentional with the time you do spend. You'll start to prioritize what you actually want to see instead of getting lost in the endless scroll. Also, change your screen to grayscale. A world without vibrant colors is much less stimulating to your brain. Those bright red notification badges suddenly lose their power. The flashy videos become less appealing. It makes your phone a tool again, rather than a toy. You can usually find this setting under accessibility options. Try it for a day and see how it feels. Many people find they check their phone far less often. And finally, be mindful of why you're picking up your phone. Are you bored, lonely, anxious? Often we use our phones to escape an uncomfortable feeling. The next time you feel the urge to scroll, pause for just a second. Acknowledge the feeling. Maybe what you really need isn't a distraction, but a short walk, a glass of water, or a quick chat with a colleague or friend. Consciously choose your response instead of reacting on autopilot. Remember, the goal isn't to quit the internet or throw your phone in a river. These tools have given us incredible ways to connect, learn, and create. The goal is to move from being a passive consumer to an active, conscious user. It's about using technology on your own terms, for your own purposes. It's about deciding where your most valuable asset, your time and attention, is going to go. By understanding how these systems work, you take back the power. You can still enjoy the good parts of social media, connecting with friends, discovering new hobbies, being part of a community without letting it dictate your life. You get to be the one in control. So, take a look at your own habits today. Try one of these small changes. See how it feels. It's not about a radical overnight transformation. It's about small, consistent steps towards reclaiming your focus and, ultimately, your life. Thank you so much for spending your valuable attention with me today. I hope this gave you a new lens through which to see your digital world. If it did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that helps you navigate the modern world. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Let's start a real conversation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. We live in a time where opening an app feels as natural as breathing. Think about it. You're standing in line for coffee, and your thumb unlocks the screen almost by itself. You sit down on the couch after a long day, and your fingers already know which icon to tap before you've even consciously decided what you want to watch. 10 or 15 years ago, things were different. You'd open YouTube or Google and type what you wanted to see. Funny cat videos, highlights from last night's game, a tutorial on how to fix a leaky faucet. You were in the driver's seat, but today, most of us don't search first. We just open the app and let the feed do the work. The platform whispers, relax, we've got you. We already know what you'll like, and let's be honest, most of the time, it's alarmingly accurate. From your side, it feels passive. You're just watching whatever pops up in front of you. But from the platform's side, you're not just a viewer. You are a constant stream of signals. The system is quietly measuring how long you stay on each clip. It tracks the exact second you swipe away. It remembers which topics made you stop scrolling yesterday. It notices which creators you tend to watch all the way through. It sees when you're tired and when you're energized, when you're bored and when you're stressed. It doesn't know your soul, but it knows your patterns. It doesn't love you or hate you. It's not your friend, and it's not your enemy. It is simply a prediction machine with one single powerful goal. Show you something that will keep you here for one more second, one more minute, one more hour. Why? Well, the longer you stay, the more ads it can slide between pieces of content, the more money it makes from your single session, and, crucially, the more training data it gets about people just like you. Most of the big apps you use every day feel free. Search is free. Social media is free. Video platforms are free. Messaging apps are free. You don't pay to post, you don't pay to scroll, you don't pay to watch. But here's the thing. Free in the digital world almost never actually means free. It usually means you aren't paying with dollars. You're paying with something far more valuable: your time, your attention, your personal information, and ultimately, your behavior. This is the key shift that many people still haven't fully wrapped their heads around. You are not the main customer of most of these platforms. You are the product being packaged and sold. The real customers are the advertisers, the brands, and the campaigns who pay for access to your eyeballs and your clicks. The platform's job is to attract as many humans as possible, keep them glued to the screen for as long as possible, learn everything it can about them, and then rent out that attention to whoever is willing to buy it. Once you truly see this, your day online starts to look very, very different. Think about all the tiny, seemingly insignificant actions you take in a single day without even noticing. You upload a photo, you like a post. You write a quick review for a restaurant you just left. You search for a new pair of running shoes. You look up weird symptoms at 2 in the morning. You click on a video, watch for 6 seconds, and swipe away. You click on another one and stay for the full 3 minutes. Each of those tiny actions is a little free task you perform for the platform. You are training its algorithm. You are teaching it how people like you behave. You are making the entire system smarter and more valuable, second by second. You don't get a paycheck for providing all this incredibly valuable training data. What do you get? You get more highly targeted content and more highly targeted ads. Now, multiply this by billions of people around the world. Suddenly, you realize that the largest workforce in human history is unconsciously working for these tech giants. Not 8 hours a day, but for several hours every single time they touch a screen. There's no boss yelling at them, no one forcing them to stay late. All it takes is a little hit of dopamine, a perfectly designed interface, and a well-entrenched habit. But there's another layer to this, and this is where it gets even more interesting. Not all content is created equal when it comes to capturing and holding your attention. Balanced.com, nuanced information is great for your mind, but honestly, it's not always great for watch time. So, what really makes the numbers on the back end explode? Emotion. Pure, raw emotion. We're talking outrage, fear, drama, conflict, envy, humiliation, and shock. Think about it. If a piece of content makes you angry, you're more likely to stay and argue in the comments. If it makes you jealous, you're more likely to keep scrolling, comparing your life to others. If it scares you, you're more likely to binge watch similar videos to understand the threat. And if it confirms your deepest beliefs, you're definitely more likely to share it with your friends. From the algorithm's perspective, this is perfect. It doesn't care if your anxiety level goes up, as long as your watch time goes up with it. Your mental health and your ability to focus are in constant competition with the platform's business model. And it's not a fair fight. On a micro level, it still feels like you are completely in control. You decide what to click, you decide when to swipe, you decide when to close the app. You're the captain of your ship, right? But on the macro level, the system has already chosen which options to place in front of you. It chose the order they appear in. It chose the thumbnail that would grab your eye. It chose the wording of the title. It even chose the exact time of day to push it to your phone. You are free to choose from the menu, but you didn't write the menu. The menu was written by a combination of people and incredibly powerful AI systems whose primary incentive is not your personal growth or your peace of mind. Their incentive is your continued presence on the platform. So, here's the main idea I want you to walk away with from this first part. The apps feel free, but your time is the real currency. You're not just a user, you are also the raw material. Everything you do on these platforms trains the system to predict you more accurately. The most emotional and addictive content tends to win because it's the best at making you stay. You still feel like you're choosing, but more often than not, you're just choosing inside a carefully constructed box that someone else built for you. This isn't about being anti-technology, it's about understanding the game we're all a part of. And in the next video, we're going to talk about what we can actually do about it. How can we take back control of our attention and use these powerful tools on our own terms? Thanks so much for watching. If this got you thinking, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next part. See you then. If you zoom out and look at all of human history, you can see these rough eras defined by how power and control work. Of course, reality is always way more complex than any simple model, but looking at it this way helps us spot patterns that just keep repeating themselves in new forms. For a very, very long time, most people on Earth were farmers. You were born into a village, you worked the land your whole life, and you depended completely on the weather, the soil, disease, wars, and the strength of your own body. A tiny group of people owned most of the land and all the best weapons. They were the kings, the lords, the nobles, the warlords, and they made a pretty simple deal with everyone else. We will protect you from chaos, from invaders, from starvation. In return, you owe us a share of your harvest, your labor, and your loyalty. This is the heart of feudalism. Power equals land. Land equals food. Food equals survival. So, most people work the fields, and a tiny minority collects the rent. You're basically trading your freedom for a bit of stability. You trade risk for predictability. And once a system like this is in place, it's incredibly hard to leave. Your options are limited, your social role is almost completely fixed, and you know, in a very direct way, that you are not free. Now, let's fast forward a few centuries. The world starts to change, big time. New technologies pop up, steam engines, electricity, complex machines. Factories start growing, railroads connect cities, and people begin moving from the countryside into these new urban centers. All of a sudden, the key source of power isn't just land anymore, it's industrial capital. It's about who owns the factories, the machines, the patents, the companies. You become a worker, you sell your time and your skills to an employer. In exchange, you get a salary, maybe some housing, and access to all sorts of new goods. Your life starts to revolve around shifts, schedules, and weekends. This is the era of industrial capitalism. Power equals capital and production capacity. Capital means factories, infrastructure, and intellectual property. People are workers during the day and consumers in their free time. And again, you're trading a certain kind of freedom for a different kind of stability and comfort. And that brings us to today, the present era, where something new has taken center stage. We still have land, we still have factories, but the new primary resource has become data and our attention. Today, some of the most powerful players in the world are the ones who control the digital platforms. They control the online marketplaces, the social networks, the search engines, the video platforms, the cloud infrastructure. They own the systems through which billions of people see information, communicate with each other, and make decisions every single day. Think about it. Instead of fields, we have feeds. Your Instagram feed, your TikTok feed, your YouTube recommendations, your personalized news feed. Instead of owning acres of farmland, they own endless scrolling timelines. Instead of planting crops and harvesting wheat, these platforms plant content and harvest our behavior. You could call this the era of platforms, or the era of feeds. In this age, power equals access to billions of human minds at scale. The new landlords are the ones who own the platforms, the servers, and the algorithms. The new rent isn't collected from fields, but from streams of our attention and rivers of our data. The data centers are the new factories. The AI models are the new machines, and they run 24/7, 365 days a year, constantly processing and learning. And where do they get their raw material? From us. From our clicks, our searches, our videos, our photos, our messages, and even our pauses and hesitations when we're scrolling. But here's the paradox. This new system can feel a lot more pleasant than the old ones. In the feudal era, you knew you weren't free. Your options were brutally limited. In the factory era, you understood that you were working for someone else's company. You knew you could be hired or fired. But in the feeds era, it just feels like you're relaxing, browsing, and entertaining yourself. There's no boss yelling at you. There's no physical gate keeping you locked in. The control mechanism has become softer, more psychological, and almost invisible. No one tells you, you must watch this or you will be punished. Instead, the system just whispers, hey, you might like this and this one too. Your chains are made of notifications, streaks, likes, and that constant fear of missing out. You feel more connected than ever, but at the same time, more distracted than ever. You scroll to feel less lonely. You scroll to escape stress. You scroll when you're happy, and you scroll when you're bored. The very same platforms that give you a sense of community also keep you chasing that next little hit of stimulation. It's a very clever design. Just look at how many jobs now depend almost entirely on these platforms. If you want to sell something, you have to play by the rules of search engines, social feeds, and recommendation systems. If you want to be a driver, a courier, or a freelancer, you depend on their apps, their rating systems, and their feeds. If you're a creator like me, you depend on a handful of giant platforms for your distribution, your monetization, and your visibility. The interface becomes the gatekeeper to the customer, to the audience, to the market, and gatekeepers always charge rent. Just like those feudal lords took a cut of your harvest, platforms take a cut of everything that flows through them. They take a cut of ad revenue, a cut of sales, a cut of subscriptions, and they always take a cut in the form of your data. The difference is that you don't really see it as rent. You see it as normal fees, service charges, or just the terms of use you clicked agree on without reading. But the pattern is the same. We control the infrastructure you need. If you want access, you pay. Sometimes you pay with money, but you always pay with your data and your behavior. But there's also a psychological rent we're paying. Because these feeds are designed for addiction, we pay with our fragmented attention. We pay with constant distraction. We pay with lower focus and more anxiety. We all say we have no time, but somehow we manage to find hours and hours to scroll. We end up like characters in a fairy tale, sent into a magical forest with a very important purpose. But we keep getting distracted by all the beautiful illusions shimmering on the side of the path. We forget why we even opened the app in the first place. We forget what we were supposed to be doing, and maybe, most importantly, we forget what we actually want from our lives beyond the screen. So, the next time you find yourself mindlessly scrolling, just take a second to pause. Ask yourself, what am I trading for this? What rent am I paying right now? Recognizing the system is the first step toward reclaiming a little bit of that freedom. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So, what do we do with all this? The answer isn't to smash your phone and run off into the woods. For most of us, that's just not realistic, and it's not even necessary. The truth is, technology itself isn't the enemy. The very same tools that keep us so distracted can also help us learn, create, and connect on a level that was totally impossible just a generation ago. You can learn pretty much any skill you want right from your bedroom. You can start a business with nothing but a phone and an internet connection. You can meet people who share your deepest interests, even if nobody in your immediate circle gets you. And now, artificial intelligence can help you write, design, edit, and build things that used to require a whole team of people. So the goal isn't to reject the digital world entirely. The goal is to stop living in it on autopilot. And the first step to doing that is simple: awareness. Most of us just open apps without any conscious intention. Our hand moves before our brain even has a chance to catch up. So here's a simple habit you can build. Before you tap on an app, just ask yourself a tiny question. Why am I opening this right now? Am I here to do something specific? Or am I just trying to avoid feeling bored, or stressed, or uncomfortable? If you have a clear purpose, great, set a mental timer. I'm going in to send 2 messages. I'm going in to watch 1 tutorial. I'm going in to post 1 piece of content. And when you're done, close it. If you realize you're opening it for no reason at all, just give yourself the option to stop. Now, you're not going to win that internal battle every single time, but just noticing the impulse, just catching yourself in the act, weakens its power over you. The second step is to redesign your digital environment. Right now, your phone and your apps are probably optimized for the platforms, not for you. So, turn off as many non-essential notifications as you possibly can. You really do not need to be interrupted every single time someone posts a story or likes a photo. Move your most addictive apps off your home screen. Tuck them away in a folder on the 2nd or 3rd page. Make them just a little bit harder to reach, so that opening them becomes a conscious choice, not just a mindless reflex. And create no phone zones in your day. For example, no phone at the dinner table. No phone for the first 30 minutes after you wake up. And definitely no phone for the last 30 minutes before you go to sleep. These small, simple rules give your brain a chance to breathe, a chance to exist without that constant stream of stimulation. Step 3 is to clean up your information diet. Just like with food, what you consume mentally shapes how you feel. Unfollow accounts that consistently make you feel angry, or jealous, or just exhausted. Mute or unsubscribe from sources that just add noise to your life but no real value. And then, actively search for creators and channels that help you grow, that help you learn, and that make you feel more grounded. The algorithm actually follows your lead. If you click on chaos, it's going to serve you more chaos. If you click on depth and substance, it will slowly start to serve you more of that. You can't control everything it shows you, but your habits nudge it in one direction or the other. The 4th step is a big one. Shift from being only a consumer to also being a creator, even in small ways. You don't have to become a full-time influencer or anything like that. But when you create something, you move from passive scrolling to active expression. You start using the tools instead of just letting the tools use you. This could mean something as simple as posting a thoughtful comment instead of just lurking in the background. It could mean sharing something interesting you learned, instead of only saving videos to a private folder you'll never look at again. It could mean making a short video, or starting a simple project and using the internet to push it forward. When you create, you reconnect with your own sense of agency. You remember that you are not just a data point. You are a person with ideas, with skills, and with a story to tell. The fifth and final step is to understand the trade you're making. Whenever a platform or a service feels free, remind yourself of the unspoken cost. Ask yourself, what am I giving them in exchange for this convenience? Is it my browsing history? Is it my face? Is it my voice? Is it my attention for the next 2 hours? There's nothing inherently wrong with making that trade sometimes. The problem is making it blindly, every single day, without any limits. If you start to treat your time and your data as valuable resources, you'll naturally become more selective. You'll be quicker to close a tab that's doing nothing for you. You'll be slower to fall into a 3-hour scroll spiral. You'll start to feel a little more like you're the one holding the remote control. Now, let's be real. None of this is going to turn off the platforms. None of this will stop companies from collecting data or training their AI models on it. But what it will do is change your relationship with them. Instead of being an always-on, always-available raw material for their systems, you become a more intentional participant. You reclaim parts of your day that you didn't even realize you had lost. You protect your ability to focus, to think clearly, and to feel present in your own life. The future will almost certainly be even more digital than the present. We're talking smarter algorithms, more immersive experiences, more personalized everything. That future can lead to incredible opportunities, but it can also lead to deeper and more subtle forms of manipulation. Which side of that future you experience depends a lot on the habits you decide to build right now. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to become a monk who never touches a screen. But you can decide not to be an unconscious worker in somebody else's invisible factory. You can decide that your attention, your time, and your mind are worth protecting. And you can decide to use the same tools that were designed to capture you as tools that you can bend toward your own goals. If you're still here, still watching, that already says something powerful about you. It means you're at least curious about how all of this works. It means a part of you is tired of living on autopilot. So, I want to challenge you. Take just one idea from this video and actually try it in your life this week. Turn off a few notifications. Set one simple no-phone rule in your day. Unfollow 3 accounts that drain your energy. Or decide that from now on, you'll just ask yourself why before you open your favorite app. Small changes compound over time. You won't feel like a different person overnight, but over months and years, the gap between living by design and living by default becomes absolutely huge. If this conversation helped you see your digital life a bit more clearly, I would really appreciate your support. Subscribe if you want to go deeper into these topics with me. Leave a like if you want this video to reach more people who might need this gentle wake-up call. And in the comments, tell me one concrete change you want to make in how you use your phone or social media. Your idea might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your honesty. Take care of your mind, take care of your focus, and I will see you in the next one. So far, we've talked a lot about systems, platforms, algorithms, and history. But that's only half the story. The other half is you. Not you as a data point or a user, but you as a human being trying to live a meaningful life in the middle of all this noise. If the internet is a gigantic casino of attention, then the most important question isn't how do I beat the house, but what am I actually here for? Most people never slow down long enough to honestly ask that question. We wake up, pick up the phone, react to whatever's on the screen, rush through our day, and then fall asleep scrolling. We tell ourselves we're too busy to think about big questions, but ironically, we're often not busy with real life at all. We're just busy being entertained and stimulated. It feels full, but it's not fulfilling. So let us step back and ask a deceptively simple question. If your attention is your most valuable resource, what do you actually want it to serve? Imagine your life 10 years from now, not in a fantasy way, but concretely. Where do you live? What kind of work do you do? What does a good day look like for you? Who is around you? What skills have you built? How do you feel when you wake up? Calm, rushed, proud, embarrassed? A lot of people can't answer this without getting vague. That's a warning sign right there. If you don't have at least a rough direction, then of course it's easy for platforms, trends, and other people's agendas to pull you wherever they want. Now, think about how your attention is currently spent across an average week. How many hours go into watching shows, short videos, streams, drama, arguments, and mindless scrolling? And how many hours go into building something you care about, learning something you chose, or strengthening relationships that actually matter to you? You don't need to judge yourself harshly here. Shame isn't helpful, but you do need to be honest. Data about your own behavior is more powerful than any motivational quote. If you recorded a screen time report for your soul, not just your phone, what would it say? How much of your attention goes to fear? How much to envy? How much to comparison? And how much goes to gratitude, curiosity, or joy? We like to think that our values shape how we use technology, but very often, it's the other way around. Whatever our feeds reward us for clicking slowly shapes our values. there's also a deeper identity question hiding under all of this. Who are you when nobody is watching and nothing is demanding your reaction? Many people feel deeply uncomfortable in that space. The moment the room gets quiet, they reach for their phone. Silence feels like something is missing. Boredom feels intolerable. But boredom isn't the enemy. Boredom is often the doorway to original thought. It's the space where your own ideas can finally surface, where you can actually hear yourself think. Algorithms are great at keeping that doorway closed. They fill every small gap with stimulation so that you rarely have to sit with your own thoughts. That's comfortable in the short term, but it's dangerous in the long term, because if you never sit with yourself, you can go years without noticing that you're reliving in a way that doesn't fit you at all. You can wake up at 30, 40, or 50 and realize you've trained your brain to be amazing at consuming and reacting, but weak at deciding and creating. One powerful reframe is to see your attention as a form of voting. Every scroll, every click, every minute is a vote. You are constantly voting for the kind of content that gets produced, the kind of behavior that gets rewarded, and the kind of person you are becoming. If you binge drama and outrage, you vote for a world with more drama and outrage. If you engage with thoughtful, deep, constructive material, you vote for more of that. You'll never control everything the internet throws at you, but you can control how you vote. You can also begin to separate your identity from your feeds. You are not your notifications. You are not your follower count. You are not the last angry comments someone left under your post. These are just signals floating around in a system designed to maximize engagement, not a jury deciding your worth as a human. When you remember that, you can take feedback seriously without letting it define you. You can experiment creatively without tying your self-esteem to every single metric. Another layer of reflection is about relationships. Think about the people you actually care about. Your family, close friends, your partner, your kids. How much of your time with them is fully present, and how much is filtered through screens? Sitting in the same room, each person in their own algorithm doesn't automatically equal connection. One of the quiet tragedies of this age is that we can be physically close, but mentally light years apart, each trapped in feeds tailored to our individual triggers. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do for a relationship is absurdly simple. Put the phone away when you read with that person and look them in the eye. Listen without half watching something else. Let the conversation wander without checking who just texted you. Our nervous systems are still wired for face-to-face presence, for tone of voice, for pauses. No amount of perfect memes can replace that. Finally, there's the question of legacy. It sounds dramatic, but it's worth asking. We talk a lot about our personal habits, how to put our phones down, how to focus better. And that's important, but it's only half the story. You don't live in a bubble. You live in families, teams, and whole cultures that are being constantly reshaped by the attention economy. If we want a healthier digital future, we have to look beyond just me and my phone and start talking about us and our systems. Let's start with families. Parents today are fighting battles their own parents never even imagined. A phone or a tablet can feel like the perfect, easy solution. The child is quiet, the adult gets a moment of peace. But what's on the other side of that screen? Some of the most sophisticated, powerful engagement machines on the planet, all fine-tuned to grab and hold a young, developing mind. Unlimited screen time in childhood can lead to an adulthood where your nervous system is trained for constant stimulation, with very little patience for stillness or deep effort. This isn't about banning technology. It's about treating it like a powerful medicine. The dose, the timing, and the context all matter. A family can create shared agreements. For example, no screens during meals, no phones in bedrooms at night, and maybe even a few hours that are offline by default. The most powerful thing parents can do is model the behavior they want to see. Don't tell your kids to put their phones away while you're scrolling at the dinner table. When technology is framed as a tool we use together, not a pacifier for difficult emotions, children learn a completely different, healthier relationship with it. Now, let's look at our workplaces. This is another arena where our collective habits can either protect our focus or completely destroy it. Many jobs now operate on the assumption that you are reachable at all times. Messages fly in from 5 different platforms. Meetings multiply endlessly. The line between being on and off gets blurrier every day. It's no wonder so many of us feel exhausted. It's not just the workload. It's that our focus is constantly being shredded into tiny little pieces. Leaders who get this can design a better way to work. They can create clear windows for deep, uninterrupted work. They can set explicit expectations about response times, so you don't feel pressured to reply instantly. They can have fewer, but more meaningful meetings. And they can build a culture that doesn't reward being constantly online as a substitute for actual productivity. True productivity isn't about being busy. It's about getting meaningful things done. Education has a massive role to play too. Our schools and universities were mostly designed for a world where information was scarce and slow. Today, information is abundant and instant. The resource that's actually scarce is attention, critical thinking, and the ability to tell the signal from the noise. Teaching students how algorithms work, how to question the claims they see online, how to manage their own focus, and how to create instead of just consuming. This should be basic digital literacy, not some optional bonus class. The sooner young people understand that on many platforms, they are the product in someone else's business model, the sooner they can start using these tools with real intention. On a larger scale, we need to ask some tough questions about regulation and ethics. Should platforms be allowed to collect unlimited data on children? Should there be transparency requirements for how recommendation systems work? Should certain manipulative design tricks, what we call dark patterns, just be illegal, the same way some kinds of financial fraud are? Law often lags way behind technology, but that doesn't mean social norms can't move faster. Public conversations, investigative journalism, whistleblowers, and even pressure from us, the users, can push companies to change their practices long before formal laws catch up. There's also a huge economic side to this, as more of the world's value is created through data and AI who actually benefits. Right now, it's mostly a small group of massive companies and their investors. But what if we, the users, had more ownership over the data we generate? What if creators had fairer deals, with less dependence on the whims of a single platform? What if communities could run their own smaller-scale platforms, tuned to their specific needs, instead of relying only on global giants? These questions don't have simple answers, but we have to start asking them now, before the current structures become so entrenched that they're almost impossible to change. At a cultural level, we can start celebrating different things. Right now, online success is often measured by speed and volume, how many followers you have, how viral your content is, how constantly you post. This tends to reward the extremes, the loudest, angriest, most shocking voices often rise to the top the fastest. But we, the audience, are not helpless. We can choose to support creators who are slower but deeper, who bring nuance instead of constant outrage. We can share content that enriches our lives, not just provokes a reaction. Over time, our collective taste sends a powerful message about what we truly value. The truth is, the attention economy isn't going away, but it can mature. Just like societies eventually develop rules around food safety, labor conditions, and environmental protection, we can develop healthier norms around digital design and data use. This will take pressure from citizens, creativity from builders, courage from policymakers, and a lot of experimentation. You, as one person, can't redesign the whole system, but you can influence the small systems you belong to. Your family, your friend group, your workplace, your online communities. You can be the one who suggests a phone-free dinner. You can propose a deep work afternoon at your job. You can start an agreement with friends to stop sending work messages at midnight. You can be the one who shares an article explaining how recommendation engines work, or who starts a conversation about what kind of digital habits you all want to normalize. Collective change rarely begins with some big, grand declaration. It begins with a few people acting differently, and others quietly noticing that it feels better. Over time, those small experiments become new expectations. Think about it. We gradually accepted seatbelts, recycling, and smoke-free restaurants. In the same way, we can gradually accept the idea that people deserve to have their attention protected, that digital products should be humanely designed, and that we deserve honest transparency about how our data is being used. The systems that shape our lives are not abstract forces from another universe. They are built, trained, and maintained by humans. And that means they can also be questioned, redesigned, and steered in better directions. But that whole process starts with a simple refusal to shrug and say, well, that's just how it is now. Thanks for watching. And if this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more conversations like this. Let's look ahead. If this is where we are now, where might we be 10 or 20 years from today? No one can predict the future with certainty, but we can sketch out some possible paths. Thinking in scenarios isn't about guessing the exact timeline. It's about preparing our minds for different kinds of worlds so we are uncompletely surprised when one of them shows up. First, imagine the more of the same, but bigger scenario. In this future, algorithms become even more accurate. AI models get better at generating content on demand. Videos, voices, whole virtual personalities. Platforms learn not just from your clicks, but from your biometric signals, the tiny changes in your face, voice, or heartbeat that reveal emotion. Personalized feeds become almost impossibly sticky because they don't just know what you like. They know how you feel before you consciously notice it yourself. In that world, the line between reality and simulation gets blurrier. You could talk to AI companions that remember your history and respond with empathy. You could step into virtual environments that feel as rich as physical spaces. For some people, digital life will become far more attractive than their offline reality. The risk here is obvious. If we already struggle to put our phones down today, how much harder will it be when our devices offer fully immersive, perfectly tailored worlds that are more responsive and more flattering than the messy humans around us? Now imagine a second scenario, regulated and rebalanced. In this version of the future, societies decide that unrestrained attention capture is as unhealthy as unregulated pollution. Governments introduce rules about data collection, algorithmic transparency, and manipulative design. Platforms must clearly label AI-generated content. Kids get strong protections. Addiction-oriented metrics are discouraged in favor of well-being and long-term value. At the same time, new business models emerge that don't rely entirely on ads. People might pay small subscriptions for services that guarantee no tracking. Cooperative platforms could be owned by their users, sharing profits when algorithms built from their data generate value. Creators might have more direct relationships with their audiences, with less dependence on a single recommendation engine. Life would still be very digital, but the incentives would be less extreme. Then there's a third scenario: tools in your pocket, agents on your side. In this world, AI doesn't just exist on the platform's side, it also exists on yours. You might have a personal AI assistant whose loyalty is to you, not to an advertising network. It could filter your feeds, block manipulative patterns, summarize information, and negotiate with platforms about what data you're willing to share. Think of it as a digital lawyer, therapist, and chief of staff rolled into one, helping you navigate the attention economy on your terms. If such personal agents become common, the balance of power could shift. Instead of each individual facing massive platforms alone, billions of personal AIs could bargain, filter, and defend on behalf of their users. Of course, that also raises questions. Who builds those agents? Who funds them? And how do we know they're truly on our side? But it's a future worth considering, because it suggests that intelligence can be used offensively as well as offensively. There are also darker scenarios we have to at least acknowledge. One is total capture, where economic and political forces both realize that controlling digital attention is the most efficient way to control societies. In that world, propaganda, deepfakes, micro-targeted messages, and emotional manipulation become everyday tools of governance and competition. People live in customized information bubbles that share almost no common reality. Trust collapses, polarization hardens, and coordinated action on real-world problems becomes nearly impossible. It's not a world anyone should want, but at SA Path we could slide toward if we treat all of this as a game and never stop to question where the scoreboard is taking us. On the more hopeful side, there's a scenario we could call maturity. In it, we go through a messy transition period, make plenty of mistakes, and eventually learn to treat attention and data as serious, almost sacred resources. Tech literacy becomes as normal as reading and writing. Young people grow up understanding both the power and the danger of algorithmic systems. Being good with technology no longer just means using it quickly. It means using it wisely. In that mature future, being offline sometimes isn't a rebellious act. It's just a healthy rhythm, like sleep or exercise. People design homes, offices, and cities with pockets of disconnection built in on purpose. Platforms brag not only about engagement numbers, but about well-being outcomes. Creators are rewarded not only for grabbing attention, but for improving the lives of their audiences in measurable ways. So which of these futures will actually unfold? The most honest answer is, probably a mix of all of them, depending on where you live, who you are, and what choices we collectively make. Some countries and communities might lean into regulation and balance. Others might drift toward more extreme control. Some people will dive deep into digital immersion. Others will consciously live on the edge of it, using tools but staying rooted in offline reality. You can't control the whole trajectory of the planet, but you can choose which future you personally are preparing for. You can build skills that will matter in any scenario. The ability to focus, to learn quickly, to think critically, to connect with other humans, to create value rather than only consume. You can treat your own attention as a training ground for the larger battles we all face as technology becomes more capable. In the end, the attention economy is a mirror. It reflects back to us what we collectively click on, reward, and tolerate. If you want a future where your kids or your future self are not completely consumed by screens, that work begins now, with small, almost invisible shifts in how you live today. It begins with one evening when you leave the phone in another room. It begins with one moment when you choose a long article over 10 short clips. It begins with one honest conversation about how all of this actually makes you feel. The algorithms are not going to stop evolving. The question is whether we evolve alongside them, not in the sense of becoming faster and more anxious, but in the sense of becoming wiser, more intentional, and more resistant to manipulation. Technology will keep asking, can we do this? We have to be the ones asking, should we, and at what cost? If you remember nothing else from this entire video, remember this: your attention is the foundation of your life. Whatever captures it shapes what you notice, what you believe, what you fear, and what you love. You may not get to choose every influence that reaches you, but you always have some say in what you feed, what you starve, and what you build. That power is easy to forget and incredibly important to reclaim. Thanks for watching, and if you found this valuable, consider subscribing for more.